Hello guys, welcome back to Abstronic Circuit tutorial. Now, let's discuss how the voltage multiplier working. This circuit involving about the AC current, how the capacitor working, and how the rectifier diode working. So, I would like to recommend to watch my previous video, Part 1, how the AC working, Part 2, how the capacitor working, and Part 3, how the rectifier diode working, simply because they are related to voltage multiplier. Now you can see the signal from the simulation. This signal came from the AC voltmeter. The maximum peak of the AC signal is 100 volt and negative 100 volt AC. Now, let's analyze how the circuit is working. And let's start it from positive cycle. During the positive cycle, the current flowing to the right direction and entering to the capacitor, but the diode 2 blocking the current. Therefore, the current just flowing through the diode 1 and charging the right plate of the capacitor. Then, the right plate of the capacitor will be accumulated by the positive charges. Since the left plate of the capacitor 1 connected to the negative source, then the capacitor will be accumulated by the negative charge from the left plate. So therefore, the capacitor 1 right now is charging. As you can see, the capacitor 2, the left plate connected to the positive of the source, while the right plate is not connected to the negative source, simply because it will be blocking by the diode 2. So this time, the capacitor 2 is not charging. Then, the current alternating from positive cycle to the negative cycle. Now you can see the positive from the top and the negative from the bottom, which is the negative cycle, while during the positive cycle, the positive from the bottom and the negative from the top. And the left plate of the capacitor will be connected to the positive of the source. So therefore, the negative charges from the left plate will be attracted by the positive source. So this time, the capacitor 1 will be discharging. At the same time, the current flowing through the diode 1, but the diode blocking the current flowing through it. So therefore, the current just flowing to the diode 2 and charging the right plate of the capacitor 2. Since the left plate connected to the negative source. So therefore, C2 right now is charging. Charging just a small voltage because the negative cycle shifting quickly to the positive cycle, causing the capacitor 2 stopping charging. Every time the positive cycle crossing the circuit, diode 2 always blocking the negative source to avoid attracting the positive from the capacitor 2 and to avoid discharging the C2. At the same time, during the negative cycle, the diode 2 always allows the current flowing through it so that the capacitor 2 again will be charging. Since this cycle is positive cycle, then the current trying again entering the capacitor 2, but the diode 2 blocking this current, therefore the capacitor 2 will be not charging, and the current just flowing directly to the diode 1, and again the right plate of the capacitor 1 will be charging since the left plate is connected to the negative source. Therefore, the capacitor 1 right now is charging. At the same time, the capacitor 2 is not charging simply because you can see the current during the positive cycle, the left plate directly connected to the positive source, and another portion of the current flowing through the diode 1, and this current also flowing to the diode 2 and going to the right plate of the capacitor 2. So both plates of the capacitor 2 connected to the positive source. So therefore, the capacitor 2 is not charging, but the voltage deposit from the capacitor 2 is remain, and the voltage from capacitor 2 right now is greater than the input voltage. Then again, the cycle changing from positive cycle to the negative. At the same time, the current direction also changing from counterclockwise to clockwise. Again, the left plate of the capacitor 1 connected to the positive source. Since it is connected to the positive source, then the negative charges from the left plate will be attracted by the positive source. At the same time, the positive charges from the right plate of the capacitor 1 pushing by the positive source. Therefore, the positive charges moving to the diode 2 and flowing to the positive plate of the capacitor 2. Therefore, the capacitor 2 causing charging by the positive source and the positive charges from the capacitor 1. Since the left plate of the capacitor 2 will be connected to the negative source. So this time, the capacitor 1 discharging and the capacitor 2 charging. So the position of the diode 1 just to allow the positive current during the positive cycle to charge the right plate of the capacitor 1. At the same time, diode 1 blocking the current during the negative cycle, and the diode 2 allow the current during the negative cycle. During the negative cycle to charging the right plate of the capacitor 2. At the same time, diode 2 blocking the negative during the positive cycle. The position of the capacitor 1 is used to charging and discharging every cycle. And the capacitor 2 is used to charging and deposit the voltage until reaching the maximum voltage, which is double the input voltage, just to create the high voltage from the output. And we can add more the same circuit to create 1000 voltage. Now, let's see from the circuit simulation how the voltage multiplier working.